Captain Elias Harper adjusted the controls of his small exploration vessel, feeling the gentle hum of the engines as they carried him through the endless darkness of space. Stars stretched out in every direction, distant and cold, yet somehow comforting in their constancy. He had spent years exploring human colonies near the edges of the galaxy, mapping star systems and discovering planets that no one else had even dreamed of reaching. Each day was filled with the quiet rhythm of charts, calculations, and communications with headquarters back on Earth. Yet today, there was something different in the signal that appeared on his sensors. A faint distress call, unlike any he had received before. Pulsed in a rhythmic pattern he could almost feel more than hear. It was coming from a planet far beyond any mapped territory. A glowing orb that shimmered in violet light from the orbiting satellites his sensors had detected. Curiosity, tempered by the knowledge that any unexpected transmission could lead to danger, pushed him to adjust his course toward the source. As the vessel entered the air shimmered with colors he had never seen. Clouds of violet mist swirled below, catching the light of a nearby star in a way that made the landscape look almost unreal. The surface was dotted with structures that seemed both natural and artificial. Towers of crystal-like formations jutted from the ground, while circular fields of glowing energy stretched between them. His mind raced with questions. What species could survive here? What kind of civilization had developed amidst such strange beauty? And why was there a distress signal, asking for help in a language he could not recognize? Before he could ponder further, the signal intensified, pulling him toward a clearing in the rocky terrain. There, partially buried beneath twisted metal and debris, was a small spacecraft. Its hull was cracked, glowing softly from the energy escaping through fractured seams. As he landed his vessel nearby, he noticed movement at the edge of the clearing. A young girl, no older than 8, stepped cautiously into the open. Her skin shimmered with faint iridescence, and her hair flowed in shades that reminded him of the purple clouds above. Her eyes were wide with a mix of fear and curiosity, fixed entirely on him. She spoke a word that sounded musical, almost like singing, yet he understood it immediately. "Father." Elias froze. The word echoed in his mind, refusing to make sense. He took a step closer, hands raised in a gesture of peace. I don't understand, he said, his voice steady despite the sudden rush of disbelief that threatened to unbalance him. The girl stepped forward anyway, holding out a small device from her wrist. It emitted a faint holographic projection, showing patterns and symbols he had never seen before. His trained eyes caught the motion and shape of a human figure, then a smaller figure beside it. The scans, the records, the genetic markers, everything was pointing toward a truth that was impossible.
According to the readings, this girl was biologically his daughter.
He blinked, trying to shake off the overwhelming thought. He had never been a father. He had spent his life among stars, alone but fulfilled by the sense of discovery. And yet, here she was, insisting, in her innocent and unwavering way, that he was the one she called father. He knelt to her level, trying to communicate the shock he felt. She tilted her head, a curious smile forming despite the fear in her eyes. It was a smile that seemed both human and alien, full of trust that he could barely comprehend. The girl then led him to the wreckage of the small spacecraft. There, hidden under a panel of twisted metal, was a chamber filled with alien technology. Lights pulsed, casting shadows that danced across walls carved with symbols and maps of distant galaxies. The girl pointed at a particular display, and as he touched it, the holographic images shifted, showing moments of her life that he had no memory of, yet seemed to know instinctively. Elias took a step back, overwhelmed by the weight of it all. His mind raced to recall anything that might explain this. Years ago, he had participated in an exploration mission near the edge of a distant star system. It had been brief. A diplomatic mission to establish contact with an advanced species rumored to exist on a hidden planet. He remembered the reports of an alien queen, a leader of a civilization capable of genetic manipulation and space travel far beyond human capability. He remembered the warning about forbidden experiments and the story of a hybrid child that had been secretly relocated for protection. And now, standing in front of him, was the living proof of that story, a child calling him father with certainty and innocence. Before he could process more, the air around him shimmered, and a sound like the vibration of a massive crystal filled the clearing. From the sky descended a fleet of massive ships, their hulls reflecting the violet atmosphere. The girl clutched his hand, looking to him for reassurance. Elias tightened his grip, heart pounding. The ship settled around the clearing, and from one of the largest, a figure emerged. She was tall, regal, her skin glimmering like polished metal, and her eyes burned with golden intensity. The alien queen had arrived. Her gaze fell on Elias instantly, sharp and questioning. "Why is my daughter calling you father?" she demanded, her voice carrying authority and curiosity intertwined. Elias swallowed hard, trying to gather words that could make sense in the moment. I don't know," he admitted. "I just found her. She came to me." "The records in her device, they show a connection I cannot explain." The Queen's eyes narrowed, scanning him, scanning the device, scanning the girl who clung to his side. Memories flickered across her face, unspoken yet visible. Memories of decisions long ago, of choices made to protect a child that should have been hidden. The truth was clear to her, and yet her expression was unreadable. Shock, disbelief, and a subtle trace of anger crossed her features. The girl, sensing the tension, took a small step forward. "Father," she said again, in the same melodic tone, as if asserting a fact that could not be argued. Elias felt a warmth in his chest that he had never known, a connection deeper than anything in his life of solitary exploration. He looked at her, searching for reassurance, and in her eyes found trust and innocence, a belief in him that transcended words. The Queen approached slowly, her every movement graceful yet commanding. She studied Elias, noting his posture, his gestures, and the way he interacted with her daughter. There was something different about him, she realized. Something human, yes, but also something else. Courage, empathy, and an unyielding sense of morality that few humans displayed when facing beings as powerful as she. She had raised her daughter among her people, protecting her from dangers that even humans could not imagine. And now, standing before her, was a human claiming a bond she had long protected. A bond that should have remained hidden. Elias, understanding the unspoken weight of her gaze, stepped forward slowly. "I don't know how this happened," he said, voice calm but steady. "I only know that I will protect her. I don't understand why. But I will keep her safe." The Queen studied him, her golden eyes piercing through him, assessing his truth, his intentions, his character, and then, for a brief moment, she allowed a flicker of uncertainty to show. Could a human, someone who had lived among the stars in isolation, truly understand the responsibility of protecting a child of her people? Could he survive in their world, with its trials and dangers, its expectations and power struggles? The girl tugged at his hand, pulling him toward the chamber once more. Holographic records floated in the air, showing glimpses of her life and of events long before he had ever met her. Elias took a deep breath, focusing on the child, the living connection that tied him to this moment. He realized that the truth, whatever it might be, was not just about genetics or history. It was about the choices he made, about the courage he showed, about the human qualities that could bridge the gap between species and worlds. The Queen stepped closer, her voice softer, but still commanding. "If what you say is true," she said, "then you must prove it. My daughter's life, the safety of my people, cannot be entrusted lightly. You must show that you are worthy." Elias nodded, feeling the gravity of the situation. He had faced many dangers among the stars, but none like this. None that questioned his very identity and tested his ability to be a protector, a guide, a father. As the sun dipped behind the jagged horizon, casting long shadows over the crystalline landscape, Elias realized that his life had changed forever. The galaxy was vast, filled with mysteries and wonders. But this was personal. This was family. And he would face whatever came next, not as an explorer alone, but as a human, with a purpose that stretched across species and stars. The first step was clear: earn the trust of the Queen, understand the child, and prepare for the trials that awaited in a world both beautiful and dangerous. A world that would challenge everything he thought he knew about courage, responsibility, and the strength of the human spirit. With the girl holding his hand and the Queen watching, Elias Harper stepped fully into a reality far beyond exploration, into the uncharted territory of connection, loyalty, and the bonds that could reshape the universe itself. The night air shimmered with alien energy, the stars above gleaming as if aware of the momentous events unfolding. And in that silence, a quiet truth settled in his heart. He was, in some impossible and miraculous way, a father, and the adventure of a lifetime had only just begun. The first rays of light from the twin suns crept over the horizon, painting the crystalline landscape in shades of gold and violet. Captain Elias Harper stood with the girl, still holding her small, delicate hand, while the alien Queen observed him from a distance. Her expression was calm, almost unreadable. But Elias could feel the weight of her gaze pressing on him. She was not someone who trusted easily, and he understood why. Her daughter, a child of immense importance, had been raised in secrecy, hidden from dangers that humans and aliens alike could not even imagine. Yet now, Elias had entered their world, claiming a bond he could barely comprehend himself. The Queen took a step forward, her movements graceful but purposeful. "If you are to be her father," she said, her voice echoing with authority, "you must understand our world, and you must prove that you are worthy of her trust. Words mean little here. Actions reveal truth." Elias nodded, feeling the seriousness of the moment settle over him. He had faced danger before, but never in a way that questioned his character, his heart, and his ability to protect another life. She gestured toward a series of structures in the distance, towers of crystal connected by glowing energy bridges that pulsed rhythmically. "Your first trial begins there," she said.
"It will test your courage and your understanding. Fail, and you will not leave this place with her.
Succeed, and you may begin to earn our trust." Elias swallowed hard, knowing that the stakes were far higher than any mission he had ever undertaken. The girl squeezed his hand, her trust evident in her wide, unblinking eyes. He drew a steadying breath and took the first step toward the towers, the ground crunching beneath his boots as he moved. As they approached, the structures seemed to shift slightly, responding to thought and presence in a way that Elias could not immediately comprehend. The first challenge became clear as they entered a chamber filled with floating platforms. Each platform hovered in midair, illuminated by soft, pulsating light. To cross, he would need balance, timing, and careful observation. One misstep could send him plummeting into a deep pit below, where unknown dangers waited. He glanced back at the girl, who nodded encouragingly. Though she was small, her confidence in him lent strength to his own. He stepped onto the first platform, feeling it shift slightly under his weight. Concentration sharpened every sense. The platforms moved in patterns that changed without warning, and Elias adjusted, calculating each step as if the chamber itself were a living puzzle. Sweat beaded on his forehead, not from fear, but from the intensity of focus required. After what felt like an eternity, he reached the other side, where a glowing key hovered in midair. He reached out and grasped it, feeling a surge of energy pass through his hand, as if the chamber had acknowledged his success. The girl clapped softly, a sound of pure joy that made Elias smile, despite the seriousness of the trials ahead. He realized that the challenge had been more than physical. It had tested his ability to remain calm under pressure, to think ahead, and to trust his instincts. As they continued through the towers, the Queen watched silently, her golden eyes analyzing every movement, every decision. The next chamber was darker, filled with a dense mist that obscured vision and muffled sound. Shapes moved within the fog, and whispers echoed from unseen corners. Elias's training told him to remain cautious, but instinct urged him to move forward. The girl's hand remained in his, her grip reassuring. As he stepped into the mist, he could feel the subtle energy that filled the room. The whispers grew louder, forming words he could almost understand. They spoke of fear, of doubt, of failure. Shadows emerged, taking shapes that mirrored his own anxieties, moments from his past, failures he had long buried, and fears of not being enough. Elias paused, taking a deep breath. He realized that this trial was not about physical skill, but about courage and emotional strength. The shadows would respond to his fear, growing stronger if he faltered. He focused on the girl, on her small face filled with trust and hope. He thought of every decision that had led him here, every choice to explore, to learn, to protect. With each step, he forced himself to move forward, confronting the shapes and shadows with calm determination. The figures dissolved as he advanced, replaced by a soft light that revealed the next chamber, a space filled with floating holographic maps and alien symbols.
Here, the challenge changed again.
He had to decode the information displayed before him, understanding patterns and sequences that were entirely unfamiliar. The girl watched, occasionally pointing to symbols she recognized, helping him interpret the alien language. Together, they worked through the puzzles, Elias using logic and intuition, the girl providing insight from her unique perspective. The queen observed closely, noting how he collaborated with her daughter, how he treated her not as a burden but as a partner, and how he remained patient and respectful throughout. Hours passed, or perhaps it was only minutes. Time seemed to lose meaning within the tower. Elias finally completed the final sequence, and the holographic maps shifted to reveal a hidden chamber at the center of the city. The queen's voice echoed in the distance, approving, but still cautious. You have shown intelligence, courage, and patience, but there is more to be proven. You must face the trial that tests your heart, your character, and your loyalty. It is the trial that determines whether you are truly worthy of being a father. The girl tugged at his hand, leading him toward a massive chamber with walls of shimmering crystal. Inside, a simulation activated, projecting a scene of chaos. Alien ships, black and silver with sharp edges, attacked the city, their weapons firing destructive energy that shattered the crystal towers. The queen's daughter was at the center of the simulation, crying out as shadows closed in. Elias's first instinct was to protect her, moving forward, even though he knew the danger was simulated. The simulation reacted to his choices, presenting obstacles that tested his strategic thinking, his ability to prioritize, and his moral judgment. He guided the girl through the scenario, dodging attacks, rescuing citizens, and making split-second decisions that balanced risk and safety. The simulation forced him to confront scenarios where there was no perfect solution, where some would be harmed regardless of his actions. Each choice weighed heavily on him, and he felt a growing connection to the city and its inhabitants, a responsibility that transcended his personal connection to the girl. He understood that being a father in this world or any other meant protecting not just one life, but also the community around that life. After what seemed like endless moments, the simulation ended. The city was intact, the girl safe, and Elias standing with a sense of exhaustion and accomplishment he had never felt before. The queen appeared at the entrance, her expression unreadable at first, then slowly softening.
You have shown more than I expected, she said. Not just courage, but compassion, patience, and the ability to make hard choices.
You have begun to prove that you are worthy of my daughter's trust. But know this, trials are not yet over. You will face more challenges, not just to test your abilities, but to prepare you for the realities of raising a child of our people. She is not like human children. Her life will be intertwined with responsibilities, knowledge, and dangers that you cannot yet imagine. Elias nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. He had not only proven himself capable of navigating alien technology, and overcoming physical challenges, but he had also shown the qualities that mattered most. Human qualities, empathy, courage, patience, and moral integrity. These were traits that the Queen valued above all else, and they were what had carried him through the trials so far. The girl looked up at him, her trust unwavering. "Father," she said again, a simple word filled with certainty and love. Elias felt his heart swell. In that moment, he realized that no matter what trials awaited, no matter the dangers or challenges, he would face them with the same determination. This was not just about survival, exploration, or duty. It was about family, connection, and the bonds that could transcend species, worlds, and stars. As the sun rose higher, casting long beams of light across the towers, Elias understood that this was only the beginning. There would be more trials, more challenges that tested not just skill, but character. But he also understood that he had already begun to build something remarkable. A relationship, a connection, a bridge between human and alien worlds. The journey ahead would be difficult, but with the girl by his side and the trust he had begun to earn from the Queen, he felt ready to face whatever the universe could throw at him. The Queen stepped back, allowing him a moment of quiet with her daughter. The girl chattered softly, telling him stories in her melodic language, some of which he understood, others he did not, yet all of which filled him with warmth and wonder. Elias laughed softly, responding with gestures and words she could understand, beginning the slow, patient process of building their bond. Every moment mattered, every connection mattered, and he was determined to never falter. Hours turned into the afternoon as they explored the immediate surroundings together. Elias learned to navigate the alien architecture, to understand the energy flows within the city, and to observe the subtle ways the Queen's people interacted with each other and their environment. He noticed small details, the way they shared information without speaking, the care they took in balancing energy flows to maintain harmony, and the precision with which they trained their young. He realized that raising this child would not only require love and protection, but also understanding, patience, and the willingness to learn a new way of life. As the day drew to a close, the Queen returned, her presence both imposing and regal. She addressed Elias with a measured tone. "You have taken the first steps. You have begun to prove that you are capable. But remember, this is a journey, not a single act. The galaxy is wide, dangers are many, and your connection to her will be tested in ways you cannot yet imagine. Know that we watch, and we judge not with cruelty, but with the need to protect our daughter and our people. Continue to show patience, courage, and understanding. Only then will your place beside her be secure." Elias bowed slightly, acknowledging her words. The girl smiled up at him, tugging him toward a quiet corner where she had discovered small, glowing plants that reacted to touch. He knelt beside her, feeling the soft pulse of energy beneath his fingers, and realized that this world, with all its strangeness and beauty, was now part of his life. He was no longer just a traveler among stars. He was a protector, a teacher, a guide, and in a way that he could not yet fully comprehend, a father. The twin suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across the crystal towers, and Elias Harper understood that the true adventure had only just begun. He had faced his first trials, proven his courage and character, and taken the first steps toward earning the trust of both the Queen and her daughter. Yet he knew that greater challenges awaited, trials that would test his mind, his body, and his heart in ways he had never imagined. But with the girl by his side, and with the knowledge that he had begun to build something extraordinary, he felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. For in the vast, uncharted reaches of space, amid civilizations both alien and wondrous, Captain Elias Harper had discovered a truth more profound than any star map or scientific discovery. The human heart, when guided by love, courage, and compassion, could bridge worlds, unite species, and illuminate the darkness of the universe itself. And as night fell over the crystal towers, Elias Harper, holding the hand of the girl who called him father, gazed at the stars above and whispered a quiet promise: to protect, to teach, to love, and to face the trials ahead with unwavering determination. The morning light spilled over the alien city, casting long shadows across the crystal towers, and Elias Harper felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders more heavily than ever. He had proven his courage and intelligence in the previous trials, but the Queen had made it clear that more challenges awaited. Trials designed to test not just skill, but heart, patience, and understanding. He knew that the next steps would determine whether he could truly protect the girl, whether he could become the father she believed him to be. The girl, radiant and lively despite the intensity of the trials, tugged at his hand as they moved toward the central chamber of the city. "Come," she said, her melodic voice bright and determined. Elias smiled at her courage, feeling both pride and awe. The child had endured so much, navigating a world of alien complexity and danger, and yet her spirit remained unbroken. He followed her, adjusting his mind to the subtle energy that seemed to hum through the streets, reacting to presence and thought, as if the city itself were alive and aware of his journey. They arrived at the chamber, and the Queen appeared once again. Her presence filled the space, her golden eyes scanning Elias as if weighing the measure of his soul. "You have come far," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "But now you face the trial that tests your judgment, your understanding of consequences, and your ability to make decisions that affect more than just yourself."
"Are you prepared?" Elias nodded, knowing that this was not a challenge to be taken lightly. The chamber shifted around him, walls dissolving into transparent screens that displayed the planet's surface in intricate detail. Alien cities, energy fields, and natural formations glimmered under the twin suns. Holographic figures moved among the structures. And then the simulation began. The city was under attack. Ships with dark hulls emerged from the sky, weapons glowing as they fired destructive energy. The holographic citizens screamed in fear, running for cover. The girl clutched his arm tightly, eyes wide as the simulation projected chaos all around them. Elias acted quickly, guiding the child to cover while analyzing the simulation. The attackers were intelligent, adapting to his movements, testing every decision he made. It became clear that the trial was not just about reflexes or strategy, but about leadership and moral choice. He could save some, but not all. He could prioritize the girl and the city's leaders, leaving others to face danger or risk everything to protect every life. He weighed his options carefully, understanding that every decision carried consequences that could not be undone. He guided the girl through the chaos, moving from cover to cover, using his knowledge of physics and human ingenuity to manipulate the simulation's energy fields. Holographic debris fell around them, some harmless, some threatening, and Elias had to make split-second choices to protect the girl and the citizens. He used improvised strategies, drawing on his years of experience as an explorer and problem solver. The simulation tested him repeatedly, forcing him to adapt and improvise as new threats emerged. Hours seemed to pass in moments, and Elias realized that the trial was pushing him to his limits. The girl, sensing his fatigue, whispered encouragement. "You can do it, Father," she said, her trust in him unwavering. Her words gave him strength, reminding him that this trial was not just about skill or intellect. It was about the bond they shared, the responsibility he felt toward her life. Every choice he made carried the weight of their connection, and he approached each decision with careful thought and unwavering resolve. As the simulation reached its climax, a massive threat appeared, a ship larger and more advanced than the others, firing a concentrated beam that could destroy an entire section of the city. Elias had to act decisively. He calculated angles, energy flows, and timing, using both his human intuition and knowledge gained from observing the alien technology around him. With a precise maneuver, he redirected the energy, saving the city and ensuring the girl's safety. The simulation ended, leaving the chamber silent except for the soft glow of the holographic projections. The Queen stepped forward, her expression unreadable at first, then slowly softened as she observed him. "You have shown more than courage," she said. "You have demonstrated wisdom, patience, and care. You have understood that being a father is not only about protection, but also about guiding,
teaching and making difficult choices with compassion. You have earned the first true measure of our trust. Elias exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. The trials had tested him in ways he could never have imagined, yet he felt a growing confidence that he could face what came next. The girl laughed softly, a sound of pure joy that filled the chamber. She led him to a quieter space, where holographic images of the planet's history floated in midair. She pointed to figures, showing him moments from her life, the moments he had never experienced, yet somehow felt connected to. Elias listened carefully, learning not just about the history of this alien civilization, but also about the experiences that had shaped her. He realized that understanding her world was as important as protecting her. Knowledge would guide his choices, empathy would guide his heart, and courage would guide his actions. As the day progressed, the Queen introduced additional challenges, trials that tested cooperation, patience, and moral reasoning. Elias learned to navigate the city's energy flows, to interact respectfully with its citizens, and to solve problems that required both logic and intuition. The girl remained by his side, teaching him, guiding him, and providing insight into her world. Together they faced scenarios designed to push them beyond their limits, forcing Elias to balance human instinct with alien logic. One trial involved navigating a labyrinth that shifted according to thought and emotion. Each turn responded to internal states, revealing paths only to those who maintained calm and focus. Elias felt the labyrinth testing not just his mind, but his ability to control fear and doubt. He thought of the girl, of the trust she placed in him, and of the promise he had made to protect her. With each step he pushed forward, learning to quiet his inner uncertainties and focus on what mattered most. The labyrinth's final chamber revealed a projection of the Queen herself, watching silently as Elias emerged successfully. Another trial presented moral dilemmas, situations where no choice was perfect. Holographic citizens faced dangers, and Elias had to make decisions that prioritized safety, fairness, and compassion. Each decision was weighed carefully, knowing that the simulation would measure not just outcomes, but the reasoning behind them. He acted with care, considering the perspectives of the alien people, the girl, and the consequences of his actions. The Queen's presence, though silent, reminded him constantly that trust had to be earned not just by success, but by integrity. As the trials continued, Elias began to feel a growing sense of belonging. The girl laughed and shared stories in her melodic language, and he responded with gestures, smiles, and the few words he was beginning to understand. The connection between them deepened with each passing moment, forming a bond that transcended species and worlds. He realized that this was more than a trial. It was a journey of trust, understanding, and love. Hours turned into cycles of light and shadow as Elias faced more challenges, each designed to test a different aspect of his character. He solved puzzles, navigated shifting terrain, and made decisions that balanced risk with morality. The girl remained his constant companion, her trust unwavering, her presence a source of strength and inspiration. He understood that being a father, even to a child from another species, required patience, empathy, and courage, beyond what he had ever imagined. Finally, as the twin suns dipped low in the sky, casting long beams across the crystalline towers, the Queen spoke once more. "You have demonstrated the qualities we value most," she said. "Courage, intelligence, empathy, patience, and integrity. You have begun to understand our world, our values, and the responsibilities that come with raising a child of our people. You have proven that you are more than a stranger. You are someone who can guide, protect, and nurture. Yet remember, the final trials are not only about skill or heart, but about the choices you will make in the face of real danger, where consequences cannot be undone." Elias listened carefully, understanding the gravity of her words. He had faced simulations and controlled challenges, but he knew that true trials would come when danger was real and outcomes mattered. He felt a renewed determination. He would not falter. he would continue to earn the Queen's trust, protect the girl, and navigate a world far more complex than anything he had encountered before. The girl tugged at his hand, leading him to a quiet garden filled with glowing flora. Each plant reacted to touch, pulsating softly with energy, as if alive. Elias knelt beside her, touching the soft leaves and learning how they responded to her presence. She laughed softly, pointing out patterns and movements that he would never have noticed on his own. In that moment, he realized that understanding and connection were as powerful as strength or strategy. The bond they shared was growing, shaped by shared experience, trust, and mutual care. As night fell, casting stars across the alien sky, Elias Harper reflected on the trials he had faced and the challenges still to come. He understood that being a father in this world was not just about protection, but about guidance, learning, and courage. The girl had trusted him, the Queen had begun to respect him, and he had begun to understand a world more complex and wondrous than he could have imagined. He felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. The trials had tested him in every way, shaping his mind, heart, and spirit. And as he held the girl's hand, watching her marvel at the alien stars above, he knew that whatever dangers or challenges lay ahead, he would face them with determination, empathy, and courage. For in the vastness of the universe, amid civilizations both alien and magnificent, the human heart, guided by love, responsibility, and bravery, could forge bonds that transcended worlds and illuminate the darkness of space. Elias Harper looked up at the night sky, feeling the weight of the galaxy and the hope it held. The final trials awaited, challenges that would test everything he had learned. But he also felt the strength of the connection he had begun to build with the girl and the Queen. A connection that could change not only their lives, but the future of the planet and perhaps even the galaxy itself. He whispered a quiet promise to the girl, who looked up at him with trust and love.
"I will protect you,"
he said.
"I will guide you. I will be the father you need, no matter what comes."
And as the stars shimmered above, casting light across the crystalline towers, Elias Harper understood that the journey was far from over. The trials, the lessons, and the bonds were only growing stronger, and he was ready to face the next chapter, armed not just with courage and intelligence, but with the human heart that could bridge worlds, unite species, and illuminate the universe with trust, love, and hope. The morning light of the twin suns touched the crystal towers, casting long, golden reflections across the city. Captain Elias Harper stood in the central plaza, the girl at his side, her small hand held firmly in his. The trials had tested his courage, intellect, and character, but the final challenge, the one that would determine his true place in this alien world, was about to begin. The Queen approached, her golden eyes glowing with authority, yet carrying a trace of measured hope. She had observed him through every trial, every choice, every act of care and bravery. And now, the moment of truth had arrived.
"You have faced simulations, tests, and moral challenges," the Queen said, her voice echoing softly across the plaza. "You have demonstrated courage, patience, and integrity. But the final test is not controlled. It is real, unpredictable, and unforgiving. It will challenge not just your skills, but your heart, your choices, and your loyalty. Are you ready?" Elias took a deep breath, feeling the girl's trust radiating through her grip on his hand. "I am ready," he said firmly. The Queen inclined her head, a subtle acknowledgement, and motioned for the gates of the city to open. Outside, the landscape stretched into a wilderness of jagged mountains, glowing energy streams, and alien forests that shimmered with life. The simulation was gone, replaced by reality. Real threats, real danger, and real consequences. A fleet of rogue ships, black and jagged, descended from the sky, weapons drawn and firing destructive energy beams. The Queen's people moved swiftly to defend their city, but it was clear that their attackers were not just ordinary foes. They were highly trained, calculating, and intent on overwhelming the defenses. Elias felt the weight of responsibility settle over him,
like a heavy cloak. This was no longer a test. This was the true trial. He moved instinctively, guiding the girl to safety behind a crystalline barricade, observing the patterns of attack and analyzing the weaknesses in the enemy formations. The girl clung to him, but her curiosity and bravery shone through her fear. She whispered insights in her melodic language, pointing out patterns he might have missed. Her intuition, honed through years of training and survival in this world, complemented his human experience, and together they formed a team capable of facing extraordinary odds. Elias realized that leadership required more than strategy. It required decisiveness, empathy, and the courage to make difficult choices. He directed groups of alien defenders, suggesting formations and tactics that used their energy fields effectively, and even improvised new strategies on the fly. The attackers adapted quickly, but Elias adapted faster, combining human ingenuity with the girl's insights and the Queen's technological advantage. His confidence grew as he witnessed the success of their coordinated defense, yet he remained vigilant. The battle was far from over. Hours passed with intense focus. Energy beams cracked the sky, ships maneuvered through the clouds, and alien citizens evacuated to safe zones. Elias stayed close to the girl, teaching her how to use basic defensive tools and strategies, helping her remain calm amid chaos. "Stay close to me," he said softly. "Trust your instincts, and I'll guide you." She nodded, her eyes bright with trust and determination. Together, they moved through the city, helping citizens, disabling traps, and rescuing those in danger. At one point, they reached a collapsed section of a bridge, where several civilians were trapped. Elias assessed the situation quickly, realizing that the structure could collapse further if they didn't act carefully. Using a combination of his human problem-solving and knowledge of alien energy manipulation, he reinforced the bridge long enough to guide the civilians to safety. The girl assisted, her small hands helping to direct energy flows, demonstrating her courage and understanding of her unique abilities. Each successful rescue reinforced the bond between them, showing the Queen and her people that Elias was not only brave, but capable of leading with compassion. As the battle continued, the rogue ships began to concentrate their attack on the city's energy core, a structure vital to the survival and stability of the civilization. Elias knew that if the core was destroyed, the consequences would be catastrophic. He turned to the girl, explaining his plan in simple terms, ensuring she understood the risks and the importance of their mission. They navigated through energy fields, dodging attacks, and reached the core just as the enemy forces converged. The Queen appeared beside them, her presence commanding and protective. "This is the final moment," she said. "Your choices here will define your place in our world." Elias nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. He had no guarantees, no safety net, only his knowledge, courage, and the bond he had built with the girl. He coordinated the defense of the core, using a combination of precise maneuvers, energy manipulation, and tactical improvisation. The girl assisted, her understanding of the energy flows crucial to stabilizing the structure and repelling the attackers. The enemy ship fired a concentrated beam aimed directly at the core. Elias calculated the trajectory, using energy redirection techniques to defuse the blast. The Queen and her warriors moved to support, but it was Elias's quick thinking and precise timing that prevented the core's destruction. The city shook, but the energy field held, and the rogue fleet, unable to overcome their coordinated defense, began to retreat. The plaza erupted in cheers as citizens emerged from hiding, their relief palpable. Elias stood with the girl, both exhausted yet exhilarated by their success. The Queen approached, her expression softened by relief and respect. She studied Elias carefully, noting every detail, his actions, his courage, his care for her daughter, and his ability to remain calm and decisive under pressure. "You have faced real danger," she said, her voice filled with approval. "You have not only protected my city and my daughter, but you have done so with integrity, courage, and wisdom. You have earned the trust of my people and my heart. You are no longer merely an observer or a participant in our world. You are a part of it." Elias felt a deep sense of accomplishment, But more than that, he felt a profound connection to the girl and her world, the trials, the battles, the choices. They had shaped him, taught him, and prepared him for this moment. He had become more than a human explorer. He had become a protector, a guide, and, in the truest sense, a father.
The girl laughed softly, running ahead to greet citizens and show them her human companion.
Her joy was contagious, and Elias couldn't help but smile, feeling warmth and pride swelling in his chest. She looked back at him, eyes sparkling, and whispered, "We did it, Father."
Elias knelt, gathering her into his arms, holding her close, feeling the bond they had forged through trials, trust, and mutual respect.
The queen led them to a central chamber where a ceremony awaited. Citizens and warriors alike gathered to acknowledge the bravery and courage displayed by Elias. The queen raised her hands, calling for silence, and then spoke with authority and warmth. "Captain Elias Hopper," she said, her voice carrying across the assembled crowd, "you have faced trials, proven your courage, and shown a heart worthy of trust. You have earned a place in our world, not only as a protector and guide, but as the father of my daughter. Your choices, your compassion, and your integrity have bridged the gap between human and alien, and for that, you are welcome among us." Elias felt a surge of emotion. The trials had been difficult, the dangers real, yet the reward was greater than he could have imagined. The girl clapped her hands with delight, hugging him tightly. The queen nodded, a subtle but genuine smile gracing her features. Elias realized that this was not just a formal acknowledgement. It was a recognition of everything he had accomplished, of every choice he had made with care, and of the bond he had nurtured with her daughter. The ceremony continued, with citizens offering gestures of respect and gratitude. Elias walked among them, learning names, observing traditions, and listening to stories of the city and its people. He felt a deep respect for their culture, their values, and their resilience. At the same time, he knew that his life had changed irrevocably. He was no longer merely an explorer traveling among stars. He was a father, a protector, and a bridge between civilizations. As the celebration ended, the queen led Elias and the girl to a private balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns set, casting brilliant colors across the crystalline towers. "You have done more than I imagined," she said, her tone softer now. "You have proven that humanity, despite its differences from our people, possesses courage, compassion, and wisdom that can shape the future. Together, you and my daughter will explore, learn, and protect this world, building a bridge between our species that will endure."
Elias looked down at the girl, her eyes bright with wonder and trust.
He realized that every trial, every moment of uncertainty, had led to this point. He had learned to understand a world beyond his own, to respect its people, and to care for a life that was not his by birth, but now was by bond. He knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face, and whispered, "I will always protect you. I will always guide you. Together we will face whatever comes, and I will never let you face it alone." The queen watched them, a sense of satisfaction and hope evident in her expression. Elias had proven himself not just through actions but through character, through patience, and through care. He had become the father she had hoped to see, a human capable of bridging worlds, protecting life, and embodying the virtues that mattered most. As night fell, the city shimmered with energy, citizens celebrating the safety of their world, and Elias felt a profound sense of purpose. He had faced trials that tested mind, body, and heart, and emerged not only victorious but transformed. The girl laughed, running through the plaza with joy, and Elias followed, knowing that the adventures ahead would be many, but that together they could face them all. The twin suns rose the next morning over a city that had survived against incredible odds. Elias stood at the balcony with the queen and the girl, watching as life continued, vibrant and alive. He understood that the galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but the bond he had forged, the trust he had earned, and the courage he had shown would carry him and the girl through anything. The trials had ended, but the journey was just beginning. Together, they would explore new worlds, learn new truths, and build a future where human and alien lived side by side in trust, respect, and hope. Elias Harper, once a lone explorer of the stars, now understood the depth of his purpose. He had become a father, a protector, and a symbol of courage and compassion across worlds. And as he held the girl's hand and looked toward the horizon, he knew that the greatest adventure was not in the stars themselves, but in the connections forged, the lives protected, and the love and trust that bound them together across galaxies. The city thrived. The Queen's daughter laughed, and Elias Harper stood ready to face the universe, guided by the human heart that could inspire hope, bridge worlds, and shine brightly even in the darkest corners of space.